Okay, we should be good to go.
Not too far away, yes. Face no recognize me now.
I hope you have another way you. Okay, we're going in.
Whose world is it?
This is a woman's world.
Let's talk about the woman.
Women make up more than half of the world's population and potential.
Every woman has got a story to tell.
When I was just 11 years old, I became a female advocate
to make a difference in as many children's lives as I could.
Soul Sisters, a discourse on the woman on Smooth 98.1.
Are we good? Are we good?
Yep. You're welcome to Soul Sisters here on Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. How are you doing this morning? We hope that you are as excited as I am and that you have the energy that will get you through the day. I hope you're fine, but most importantly, I hope you're ready to be a part of this conversation we are about to have. It might not be the most exciting one, but at least we hope that it will effect a change. So, Soul Sisters talks about issues relating to the gender, that's the female gender, and we realize it is the female gender is not standing alone. There are issues that happen to our that relate to the men too, and that's why we get to have soul brothers come in here sometimes. Today is one of those days. So that's to tell you that you don't necessarily need to be female to contribute or be a part of the show. You can also be a male because these issues apply to you as well. You have sisters, you have mothers, you have wives, you have nieces. So all of them are females and you're also part of their lives. Now, that said, you can always be a part of it by going to our WhatsApp, which is 0809 444 0981. And you can also tweet at us at Smooth91FM on Twitter. Last week, we started this discussion and I said that I wanted to go deeper. So I was asking you your thought on some widowhood practices that are so barbaric in Nigeria that you would want to see them abolished and your thoughts generally, your emotions, your feeling, your experiences, and you came through. So this morning we'll be talking about the culture versus the law. We do know that tradition, customs, and culture are some of the reasons we see have these things in practice in 2022. But what is the law saying as regards the widowhood practices? What is the right of those individuals? We want to examine that because, again, knowledge is power. It's what you have armed that are with that will be, that will push you to fight. That said, I have somebody who's very capable. It's not his first or second time here. Okay, it's his third time. So three times is a charm, or how do they say it now? He is the founder of Nurses Help Initiative. He's a legal practitioner, and his name is Barrister Olumide Omoshebi. Good morning.
Good morning, Shane.
Thank you so much for being here again. Thank you.
Very much for inviting me.
How has it been since then? How many monsters have you taken down? How many people have you put behind the bar or put in cell?
It's a continuous. That is a future continuous tense. It just keeps growing and growing. We have a long way to go when the same tradition, culture overshadows the sense of reasoning. The worst is the religious part of it, and the rise in the rates of domestic violence, abuse, even child trafficking nowadays. So we are there by God's grace. Until the knowledge spreads everywhere, we'll keep doing our best.
Well done, because we don't know what we will do without some of you who are ready to just do those jobs irrespective of what you get in return. Now, that said, let's talk about widowhood. First off, have you had encounters with people who have been in terrible situations, whose husband just passed away and they were being treated unfairly?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Some factors, as early as when I was still in the university, there was a young lady in my class, and she was already married. She was Igbo. And right there in school, she got news that her husband had passed away.
Oh, wow.
So some of us then quickly told her to go to the house, take all the cars and all the title documents and everything, quick, just pack the valuables out of the house. She quickly did that, and in less than 48 hours, family members had come in. Where's my brother's car? Where's the? She left the old cars there. Cars that were they had about 7 cars or so. She was married to a rich man, and then they had come. Some started removing the air conditioning. Some started, taking where are the document? This is my brother's house. It was hell for her. But if not that, we had given her that right from school, quickly pack the documents, the valuables, the cars, the good cars, just for you and your children. So right from the university, we had already seen those practices where family will come and take over the property of their brother who is married to, at the detriment of his wife and
Right.
children.
This morning, now I had already decided I was talking about this topic last week, but this morning, while I was just going through my Twitter feed, I came across a very interesting thread which is talking about the same issue. And I'll read it out. So it's from her handle is Eketi Ete, Etsy, I believe. Please forgive me. So she goes, a lady who lives in my friend's compound lost her husband, and his people showed up from the village 2 days later to collect everything from her. As they began to harass her to bring the documents for the house, the car keys, and checkbooks, a neighbor overheard them. He went and called 3 other men who were around in the compound and briefed them on what was happening. Those men were dressed up. One of them, a policeman who was off duty, put on his uniform. Together they went to her door and knocked. One of her brother in laws opened the door and told them to go away, that they were having a family meeting. The 3 men ignored him and barged into the house. They said they were from the bank. That's the twist there. That the late man owed millions in debt, and they were there to pack his things. The wife was shocked. The man's people were shocked. Their spokesman said, "Officers, sir, let us hold a small meeting. A meeting outside. We'll be out. We'll be right back." They went outside to have a family tete-a-tete. While they were outside, this woman's neighbor told her the plan and assured her that they wouldn't let anything bad happen to her. Now, 10 minutes later, her brothers in law, husband's uncle, and cousin had still not returned. One of the men went to check on them. Do you know this men had left? They fled and left their brother's widow alone to face alleged bankers that her late husband was supposedly owing. They hurried off to tell the whole community that everything the man had been displaying was on loan, that he was poor and owned nothing. This worked in the woman's favor because they didn't ask her to bring a dime for the funeral. Imagine. Now, after the man was buried, one of the neighbors who had showed up to protect her against thieving in laws helped her collect her husband's benefit and sell the house. Now, after the sale, she quietly relocated to Canada with her children. Her in laws nearly choked to death. I chuckle every time I remember how they showed up again to ascertain if the house had really been sold by the bank and that their brother didn't own it. Now, I find it really interesting. Just see the sharp change from wanting to collect everything to immediately leaving the woman to facing everything that was supposed to be collected from her because it was allegedly owing, the late husband was owing. So, in the case that there is the man dies without a will, and the properties the man has are actually in the name of the man, what happens to the woman?
Well, first of all, there is no way you can talk about this without facing what we call tradition and culture. These are long-standing practices where people see it as right, especially when they say you are married under traditional law. We have about 2 kinds of marriages in Nigeria. That is the court wedding, that is at the marriage registry, and you have the traditional or Sharia marriages. So when you are married under traditional law, they tell you that tradition and culture would determine for example, devolution of properties, how things are managed in the house, the rights of the woman, the rights of the man will be determined under traditional law. So you find a lot of people not wanting to marry under the act. You find their families encouraging them to do just traditional marriage so that when, if anything happens, their culture is that, the property of the husband belongs to the husband's family.
Hmm.
Especially if the woman does not have a heir that is a male child.
Okay, I might interrupt you here because we need to quickly go on this break. Now, when we come back, I'm already liking where this is headed. So that we first sort out the culture and now where does the right of the human come into play? You're listening to Soul Sisters here on Smooth 98.1.
My name is actor, writer, and you're listening to Smooth 98.1. Keep listening.
You summon the oracle now.
We'll still have relatively enough minutes for this one.
Yes, for that.
Okay, we have 3 minutes thereabout. You want to quickly do something?
No.
Is the
Okay.
power of 5G. Tell me more about the power of 5G. With hyper-fast internet speed, slow to zero lag and buffering, multiple connections and quality data sharing, 5G will give you amazing things like remote surgeries, self-driving vehicles, instant file downloads, smart homes. 5G's amazing technology will change the way we experience life and the internet. Get ready to encounter the incredible. And remember, no B2 now MTN 5G.
So if I decide to skip,
Guy, why don't you just boggle the other day? Your apartment looks just
so
the same
if
way
I
it was
decide
before
to
the incident.
skip
Wow. Yes, bro. But you know how when life gives you
the
lemons,
court
you make
marriage,
lemonade.
does it still
Especially when
mean
you
I
have the
am
right connection to
officially
pick it back up.
married?
Yeah.
How do
Anyway,
you skip
my
them?
partner
What
took care of
marriage?
this.
did you
Madu.
I thought you said
Yeah.
there was a
But
time
wait,
you
wait,
mentioned
wait.
that the
Aren't you
traditional
seeing-
marriage or the
We don't
customary
know
marriage,
about
is
it.
there a difference
It's
between
AXA.
them?
It's traditional.
Okay, the
Then-
customary marriage, the church marriage is what
When
marriage?
you are saying customary, there's nothing like customary.
Okay.
It's traditional marriage
Okay.
and Sharia marriage. That is those, like those states governed by Sharia law in the north. So the Constitution recognizes Sharia, traditional, and marriage, that's court marriage, legal marriage. Those are the three kinds of marriages that
Sharia, traditional, and court marriage.
Yes.
So now in traditional marriage, do you get to have the certificate?
There are no certificates in traditional marriage.
But the law recognizes it.
Once dowry is
It's
paid,
time to change the way you bank.
sorry,
Open
once
yourself
bride
to a
price
world of
is paid,
financial freedom and convenience with a
the
carbon
law is
account. With a
satisfied
carbon
that
account,
they are
you
properly
can
married
turn
under
every purchase
traditional
into
law.
installment at
Is there any
0%.
documentation
Create a savings plan and earn
for
up
that
to
bride price?
15.5%
None.
interest.
So it's just word of
Enjoy
mouth.
cashback every
It's
month on no debit card spend and monthly
the
interest
family
by just
goes to
leaving
another
money in your
family
account.
Yeah.
It
in the
gets
American
better.
embassy.
You enjoy
Then
free
all you had
transfers,
to
free
do
debit
was
cards,
to
and
provide
so much
pictures
more. You always earn with
of
a
the
carbon
traditional
account.
marriage,
Get started
where
today
they
by
also give you a
downloading the
letter
app
of
from the Google Play
acceptance.
Store or iOS App
It's
Store.
in one.
Carbon,
Have you been to
change the way
any
you bank.
engagement, traditional engagement before? You see that they present a letter, then
Yeah.
they don't. So those are the only things.
Oh, interesting.
So once bride
One
price is
nation
paid,
under the oath of
then
That's
they
it.
are
democracy
married
for unity
legally.
and peace,
That
to
is
be faithful
the
and loyal.
Constitution recognizes
Nigeria is divided
their
into four
union.
regions: the West, Midwest, East, and North.
How did this melting
Okay.
pot of diverse people become one nation?
We're going to talk about democracy by the people, to the people, for the people. Now, listen, my society is underdeveloping because of an alien system on our people.
Let's talk politics and the state of the nation.
So much corruption, commotion.
Talk politics, brand new on Smooth 98.1, now every Thursday from 11 a.m.
So let's establish a simple truth. The British didn't travel halfway across the world just to spread democracy. Nigeria started off as a business deal for them between a company and a government.
If you want to be a part of that really always intense conversation on Talk Politics, tomorrow is the time, or rather, tomorrow is the day. 11 o'clock is the time here on Smooth 98.1. Right now, it's all about Soul Sisters, and we are talking widowhood practices. My guest is Barrister Olumide Omoshebi. And before the break, he was breaking down culture first before we go into the law and what the law says about the rights of the woman whose husband has just passed. So over to you.
Well, if, as I was saying, under tradition
Yeah.
and culture, the courts, well, the Constitution recognizes traditional marriage, Sharia, and the court's marriage. So once bride price is paid, the conditions for a traditional marriage has been satisfied.
Okay.
So under traditional law, there was a big problem where people would bring various doctrines, various cultures, various traditions, and it's always to the oppression of the women. For example, if a man died, then you would force the woman to go into, she would shave her hair, she would go into a forest, she would drink from the water that he was bathed in. If she was, to say if she was
Innocent, yeah.
responsible. Last year, we still had the community where the sister of the late husband came and got people to beat the widow that she was a witch because a man that she had been taking care of in sickness later passed on. I mean, the lady left the city to go and sit down with her husband and you now beat her, strip her naked, video her and parade her on the streets. There are some barbaric customs, culture, and traditions. But the thing about tradition is it's just the Latin word for tradition is tradere, which means to transmit, which means to hand over, to pass on. So tradition is simply what is passed on from one generation to another. Now, tradition cannot be verified. It was the opinion of the earliest settlers in a particular area. So there is no divine tradition. It was just the opinion of a group of people, which has now passed from generation. Somebody said, and you notice that tradition is always in third person. It is never in first person. Second, it's always in third person because somebody told someone who told someone. You can only verify because you cannot verify because that person too was told by somebody else. So traditions are just opinions of men who lived the earliest period, who were the earliest settlers. They determined the tradition and the culture of a particular area. Culture is just tradition in motion. Culture is the way they now dress, the language they speak, their cuisine, what they eat. Culture is just the expression of tradition. But now the problem is when tradition now infringes on your right to choose. Traditions were made to solve problems that existed in that time, 400-500 years ago, which a child here already knows today. For example, the killing of twins. How did it start? It was a shock to a native doctor upon delivering two people. He had never seen that before, and he ran out and said, "This must be an abomination of the gods." And then the town meeting was called, and it just became, a means of confusion. And when they could not explain, what they do is they demonize it. It is an abomination. Kill twins. What happened? A traditional doctor could not explain how two children will come out from the same belly. So it must be an abomination. So they just started killing. And people just did not know how it started. They just carried it on from generation to generation, not knowing that it was just the ignorance of one man. So it is just passed on. They don't know why. They don't know. They just we in this area, we don't marry people from that area, not knowing that way back it was a land dispute between two families that now set them apart, that we would not marry from this side because their earliest grandfathers fought over a plot of land. So they just say, we don't marry from they are wicked, they are this, we don't marry from that side, not knowing that what started this was land dispute between two people. So traditions are just opinions and beliefs of people that have gone over a period of time. Now the problem is when it now starts interfering with your right to choose a husband or right to choose a wife, what would accrue to your children. That is where the law has now set in. There is what we call the repugnancy test. That is when the tradition or culture is seen to be repugnant to natural justice, public policy, and good conscience. You take a all the properties of a man, knowing that he has children. How are they supposed to feed? How is the wife supposed to feed? So the problem is that the courts, especially in a notorious case that the Chief Justice of Oyo State had to declare that once a man is married to a woman, their home is matrimonial property. At the demise of one, it automatically passes on to the spouse, the surviving spouse, so that people will not just come, kick out the wife, take the look at this gentleman, 360 Towers, that collapsed in Ikoyi. What's his name again?
I think Femi also.
Yeah.
Oshibodu.
Is it Femi Ocho? I can't remember. The high-rise buildings that
Yeah,
collapsed
I
in
think
Ikoyi.
Oshibodu, I believe. I'll check that out.
When he died, it wasn't up to a week. His brothers came and started taking his property, the cars, the Rolls Royces, and his children were still there. They had not even started mourning. They had not even recovered his body. The brothers already came and they were scrambling for his properties. So it's just a shame. But the remedy to this is if the woman would apply to court, just get a lawyer, the court will put a total full stop to it because it is repugnant to natural justice.
Yeah, Femi Oshibono, I believe, yeah.
Okay. So, it happens. Just come in. This is my. Some would even say, the other one tried to rape a lady 3 years ago because it was his late husband's wife and claimed rights that she is our family property. So, at the demise of the husband, the younger brother is now pulling the wife that and it's practiced in some traditions where the wife is seen as property.
Okay, let's backtrack a bit. Now we know that these things are just clearly tradition, and the worst part is it has fully defined some people. It has defined their way of life. It has defined, because that's culture. After all, culture determines your identity, determines your mentality, your thinking. Because I remember there was a case in 2020 where it was ruled by the Supreme Court that a man, I think it was in Enugu State, if I'm correct, that the daughters could have the access to the father's inheritance.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if you
yes,
remember that case.
Yes.
And some of the village chiefs kicked against it, that this is a violation of our culture, while some were supportive of it, because nowhere should it be accepted that because a woman is a woman, or she cannot have
property. Yes, it was the women won in court, where even in especially the eastern part of the country, where they believe that men are the only ones entitled to hold property, especially in inheritance. So you see a small boy holding property where the older sisters would have to come and ask him for rent, that please support, because the father may own probably a larger estate. They will not see one small child who may be the last one, will just be holding. And it became a problem because it is supposed to be shared per children. The courts have also shown that the laws are not gender specific. There are no laws especially for men, then laws especially for women, especially, well, maybe some in under the Violence Against Persons Prohibitions Act, but all men are equal.
Okay, we'll go on another break, and when we come back, I want you to spell it out clearly that in the case that a man passes on and there is no will, the properties and whatever it is belongs to the woman, is automatically transferred to the family. And in cases where there are still people who are pushing against that, what can be done? Because now that you know that automatically it's supposed to be for you, even if all the properties of the man are in his name. He's now gone. So it's supposed to be for you. That's one aspect of it. Secondly, in the case of polygamous marriages, because this is one of the things, you have people who had more than one wife, who had step siblings and all of that stuff. So the complicated issues, how can we go about it legally? Because you need to be armed with the right information before you proceed to fight for your rights. In case you're joining us for the first time, this is Soul Sisters here on Smooth 98.1, and we are talking about widowhood practices, the culture versus the law. My guest is Barrister Olumide Omoshebi.
Point one. Love music, love life.
You have hit a raw nerve. Polygamy.
I got it.
Yeah.
I
It
got
is.
it. Calm down. What did you get? I got the job. And guess
You know,
what?
when
The
you say you
salary
want
is
to
even
show
more than we
your
thought.
next generation, you want to
Now
deal
I
with
can take
your
you to
children,
all those fancy
they are
places
going
you've
to
always
polygamy.
wanted to go. I'm thinking we
You
start
want
with
to
Dubai
deal
this
with your
summer.
next
You
generation.
want to
I would
punish
love
them, you
that.
want them to
But,
suffer.
Oh, wow.
Darling, wait.
That is
I hope this your new job
because
gives you an
except
AXA
you
health cover, just as you
give
have
a
on your
will,
current job.
Sure thing.
even the will.
That
There's a
would
man on my
definitely have
street
been
who
the
has
deal
48
breaker.
children.
That comprehensive health cover from
Shit.
AXA Mansard is second to none. Very
48.
important
He
indeed.
doesn't
I
even.
trust you, darling.
How do you name
I trust AXA
people?
Mansard HMO.
40,
Sign
you
up
know
now
how
to
it
the
is to
AXA
celebrate
Mansard HMO
48
cover to
birthdays
enjoy
in
access
a
to
year?
over 1,500 health providers, hospitals, dentists, eye clinics,
48.
and so on.
There is
nationwide.
no way in
Telemetry
hell that is
services,
ever going to be
laboratory
shared
process,
normally.
fitness
Thank you.
sensors, and much
So what
more.
they do
Simply
is they
dial
share according to
0700
wives.
AXA Mansard to get started. AXA, know you can.
I have 4 wives, then everything will be divided into 4. Each wife will now divide according to the children. So if you have 5 children, if you have just one,
access to all those
the
products
one
you've
will
had your
get
eyes
more.
on all year at prices that will leave some change in your pocket. You also
don't
don't have to
share.
pay for
What's wrong?
delivery fees on thousands
It
of
is
products when you
sad.
order above
It is
1,999
depressing.
naira. T's and C's apply.
What?
There are consequences to every decision. I think that people don't really
Listen to this to understand the
you
amazing
must
power
be
of
extremely
5G.
wealthy.
For you to get away with that?
Yes, you must have a lot of Abiola, even Abiola's
Sorry,
family.
I played that at 5G speed.
Abiola, they still
Now
have
here
like
it is
great
at the
parties
speed you're
there
used to.
that you know, why
With
is
hyper-fast
the
internet speed,
oldest son
low to
Kola
zero lag and
doing
buffering,
this to it?
multiple
You know,
connections, and quality
you have to be
data
very
sharing,
wealthy.
5G will give us
You just
amazing
have to be
things
very
like
wealthy.
remote surgeries, self-driving
See
vehicles,
somebody
instant file downloads, smart
earn
homes.
Get ready to
having 2
experience
wives,
the incredible. And remember,
9 children.
now MTN
I'm going back
5G.
in.
A blend of only the best. Silky, smooth music on your radio. Oh, yeah. Smooth 98.1.
Like it's time to talk right now, not just dance. We're talking about something very sensitive, something very controversial, and at the same time important. Widowhood practices in Nigeria. And I think you're missing out on a lot if you're not streaming on YouTube right now. So quickly go to youtube.com/smooth 91 FM Lagos. That's the YouTube channel, Smooth 91 FM Lagos. And if you have been a part of this conversation, you want to share your thought or give your 2 cents or recommendation, you can do that by coming to WhatsApp. It is 0809 444 0981. So before going on the break, I said when we come back, we will spell it out clearly what the law says on a person who passes on, that's the man now, and had all the properties, everything in his name without including the woman. So what happens to the properties after his death? Does it go automatically to the woman or it's free for all?
Oh, well, to close that the debate on the customary law, there is a repugnancy doctrine which prescribes that the courts shall not enforce any customary law or rule if it is contrary to public policy, repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience. So the law has taken care of those crazy customs. You have to go and sleep in the evil forest. You have to shave your hair. You have to drink of this water. You have to go to this shrine to swear. You have to strip her naked. You know, all that have gone. And one thing you have to understand is that you see, all these are just against women. That is to show you that most customs and traditions are patriarchal. They embolden men. So for it to be patriarchal shows that it was men that made those laws.
And the truth is, women enable it.
Yes, women, you see, women are the problem of women. It's just a universal law. Sorry, it's not even a law, it's just a fact. Women are the problems of the women because the men will be there. You see, the women are the ones that propagate and, until they become victims. They are the ones that shout the most, to propagate the culture. It are not in our tradition. You bring a woman home, say, no, we can't marry from, even the man is quiet. It is the women that will keep repeating custom against their own selves. Anyway,
Yeah.
to the question of
Yes, the properties passing on. Who does it pass?
yes,
Yeah.
the Chief Justice of Oyo State, in one of his rulings in a particular case like that, says a matrimonial home is the joint property of both husband and wife. That
Okay.
so once, whether it is in the man's name or the woman's name, at the passing of one, it automatically is transferred to the surviving spouse for the children, especially when they have children. The children are the main major beneficiaries. In some cultures, the woman will be given right to use and to occupy, but ownership of the property will not be given to her because, she might go and marry another man. And then the complications that may arise. Is it that that man will now come and claim this property? So they would say that you can use and occupy, but the property in its title is for the children. So if she goes to marry another man, she doesn't go with the title of the house, it stays with the children.
Is it just the house or any property?
Any property.
Oh, that's interesting. So it gives precedence or gives priority to the children.
Yes.
Oh.
The children are the primary beneficiaries of, when you're talking about inheritance, it is children you're talking about, as in that's the first thing that comes to your mind, not the spouse. The spouse will not inherit property, it's usually for the children.
So what happens in a polygamous case?
Well, what
I know that's a big one.
Polygamy, I think first thing I tell people is that polygamy is for rich people. If you are poor, you are living in one room or one bungalow and you have 3 wives, I think that the consequence of that decision is to punish the children that would be fruits of that marriage. Because the confusion now, there's a way the Yorubas have designed, it's called Idigi. Igi is tree.
Igi.
So it means that property will be shared according to wives and not children.
According to wives?
Yes. So if I may have 2 wives now and something happens to me, one wife could have 6 children, the other could have 2. So instead of dividing house into, 1 to 6 plus 2, that's 8, then plus wife 9 plus wife 2, that's 10. No, you just divide it according to wives. So then whatever gets to wife A will now be shared amongst the children.
Wow.
There's a gentleman on my street, he has 48 children.
Currently?
Yes, he's late now. And you know what it is to have 48 birthdays in 1 year?
I doubt you.
That's more than a month. A month has 31 days. So anyway, the issue was the man, when the man just had a stroke, the children had already started selling, so the man, on every house, he had about 2 houses on the street. You just see, this house is not for sale. Beware of my son, Emeka. This house is not for sale. In the absence of a will, it has to be settled in court, which would now share the properties as per wives. It is not possible to share as per 48 children. How do you want to share property into 48 pieces?
Everybody takes a room.
In what house? Does the house have 48 rooms?
In a number of
Aha.
houses.
So a lot of times they do also another thing, which is to sell the property and not split the money.
Wow. Now, for a woman who's looking to pursue her rights in the court, and she's well aware that, okay, so I'm painting a typical scenario that the husband passed on, there was a will. It says these things are supposed to go to you, but the family is not releasing it because we've seen many cases like that. And she's gone to court.
You see, this is what I would tell people. I'm not speaking as a lawyer now, I'm speaking as a citizen of this country. So, my law degree aside, we are all, I think, if you are a Nigerian born in this economy, born in this space, we all have mental health issues. You can't be living under the conditions that we are living in, and it will not affect you slightly. So the difference is that we're handling it differently. We are learning to cope, we are learning to, but we are all at the brink. What will make people stow away in the shaft of a ship, the person has got to be crazy. So I would tell you that when you know your right, you can enforce your right. I will not be in the house, and some people will bring a truck and some houses to come and start packing my father's property. Chairs, the TV, the air conditioning, and I am in the house. And he left a will which already has made me heir. You will resist that. Firstly, then call the police. But some people, I remember something like that happened to us, and not that they came to, but the will did not pass. It was as if the executors of the will had another plan.
Yes.
So the title did not come. They held on to it. When it got to a time, this was about 12 years after my father had passed, and they were still collecting some rent from the property, and I had not given it to them. I was over 40. I was 40. And my dad had died when I was like 30 something. So one day I just went to the property, and when they saw me, a lot of people that had known my dad was like, I'm a Babani, because the way I talk, and I told them that, why are you paying rent? They said, Chief, I said, yeah, this is from now on, you pay rent to nobody, you pay rent to me. Anybody that does not will be ejected from this. And they were like, but we just paid rent. I said, you better go and collect it back.
Huh.
You have to change it. And, I wasn't talking like I'm talking now. Of course, that there was some. And I stood there ready to shut down, within 24 to 48 hours. When they heard, when they called, and I told all the executors, the both that were calling that, you have to do things up in line with tradition. This is not the way to do it. I said, I dare you to come to this property. I dare you that I'm now here. I am living here. The day I see, I changed it. And do you know that for that audacity, they were like, this boy must be, something is backing him up for him to challenge. And, I went all crazy. In 48 hours, they remitted the monies that they collected that year to me. There comes a time when you have to stand. By the time you rush to the police and come back, damage could have been done. So you stand. If you can raise alarm, call people on the streets, they would come to your aid. But some people just, I saw a place where the widow in the compound, the brothers came and they pulled her out. She was sleeping, so she wasn't properly covered. They pulled her out. They told her to get out of the house. And, people on the streets stood. And this woman did not do any. The son did not do it. They were just like, they have jazz. These people are fetish. Let them just take. By the time they stripped the house, they had also taken title documents. And I was telling the woman, you cannot just sit and watch people plunder your goods. The neighbors couldn't do anything because the woman was not doing anything. So, you have to put some kind of, especially when you have a will. People will test you as long as you allow them to test you. But there's a Yoruba proverb that says, that means the day you say enough is enough, that is the day enough will be enough. So once you feel this is what will happen, immediately you would have gone to the police to report threat to life and property. You would go and make that report that these people's family, they're threatening my life, they're threatening them. So the police is already aware. And if there's anybody around, they would have invited them that, listen, we have to prevent a breach of peace. Do not go near this property. They will write an undertaking. And, if you want anything, you go to court. But people will not go to court because they know they will lose. So they try the bravado, they try the intimidation, but as long as you allow, they would plunder.
Okay, so things are getting heated up, and I like the turn of events, but we'll take a last break. And when we come back, I'll take your messages on WhatsApp. You can also call. So just give us a minute, and your calls can start coming in, or rather, you can start dialing now because of the network. So the number you want to call is 01448 9981. Again, 01448 9981. And you can send the WhatsApp messages to 0809 444 0981.
Into Smooth 98.1. Don't go anywhere.
Okay, so you have some question.
But even more powerful is when they
Are we saying that one will need a will declaration to own his or her late father's properties?
You are to us by providing you with simple and innovative banking technology.
A will is not a declaration.
From
A
our
will is a
online
will.
banking and mobile
Are we
app,
saying
The person
that?
hasn't been. Maybe the person just joined.
platform, to our super fast loan services and so much more. In Keystone, you'll find a refreshing approach that takes banking from being bearable to pleasurable. Experience customer
Father
dedication and fresh
Abraham.
innovation that go beyond
Father
words
Abraham,
with
please.
Keystone. Keystone Bank. We grow together.
You summon the oracle now. Greetings, my king. How can the oracle serve you?
Hello there.
You will tell me the secret to your
What's
power.
that?
How did
Who's
that
that?
keke move without a driver?
No. That's another from another day.
Okay.
Yes, because this is from today. So this was from Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
5G will give you amazing things like remote surgeries, self-driving vehicles, instant file downloads, smart homes. 5G's amazing technology will change the way we experience life and the internet. Get ready to encounter the incredible. And remember, no B22, now MTN 5G.
Beat Sakma with Jumia Black Friday. From November 4th to the 30th, you can get access to all those products you've had your eyes on all year at prices that will leave some change in your pocket. You also don't have to pay for delivery fees on thousands of products when you order above 1,999 naira. T's and C's apply.
And you're listening to Soul Sisters right here on Smooth 98.1. We are talking widowhood practices. If you're joining us for the first time, please take a seat. We have about 6 minutes more to go. But do not worry, the entire video is up for you on YouTube. You just go to the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/smooth 981 FM Lagos. Widowhood practices. My guest is Barrister Olumide Omoshebi. And Charles Chidozie says, in reference to something you said earlier, that the gentleman on your street is not a gentleman. He's Father Abraham for having 48 children. Then Gary Newton, I don't know if you've been listening before now, but for the sake of those who are just joining, we'll repeat this. So you're asking if one needs a will declaration to own his or her late father's properties, even as a son.
Well, it's a will, not a will declaration, but no, if your father died without making a will, the property of a father is passed on to his children. That can also be decided in court. But the issue is that a stranger or family members cannot come and claim the property of a man who worked for his wife and children and take it for their own children and their own. It's not. No, the courts do not support that.
Okay, then Josh says, God bless you, Barrister Olumide, on the move to collect your right. African traditions and laws relating to things like this are cruel. You can quickly call. I think I can only take one call. It is 014489981. Again, 014489981. And messages. The WhatsApp messages can come to 0809 444 0981. Now, if I was to infer anything from what you were explaining earlier about how you stood to collect the rent from your father's properties, it is that even with the law backing you, you still need a sprinkle of.
Yeah, it was, for every will, there are executors. The executors are supposed to ensure that, the title passes down, successfully to you. But when instead of handing it over to you, they now hold on to it. And, just waiting for years, over 10 years, over. I'm the last born, and I was like 40, and we still had not gotten, over some warehouses and shops. And, one day I just got up. I didn't tell anybody. My mother would be like, no, you're the only son. They would know on arrow or one something. It's always something fearful that I leave it to them. But I couldn't, I think I was broke. And I was wondering that I have money, I have my father gave me something to, like he had foreseen that this boy may be broke in future, and gave me something to augment. And some men, very old men, are just holding on. I just went there, and that was it. In 40, everything took 48 hours. The day I made the declaration, I stood there, and I dared them to come, and I gave, all those tenants were now calling them that, please, daddy's son wants to eject us. It became a problem. They had to now refund the monies because those ones too were ready to pull problems. And in 48 hours, I had, until today, not one, everything has been going smoothly.
Just to restore the faith in someone about Nigeria's judicial system. So I need you to reiterate that if somebody goes to the court, especially as you are the immediate family of the person who just passed, that you will get the properties, because
Absolutely.
some people already think it is Nigerian courts, the process, the
No,
proceedings will take forever.
You see, the thing about the Nigerian judicial system is this: we are we litigate. There's so many cases. You come there today, they're like, your case is like 7,002 on this particular judge's table. There's 7,000 cases before yours. So it might take a little time to now give you a date because he's handling several things. He's about to deliver judgment on this. He's about everyday new cases. So it's not as if it is slow. It's just that there's so many cases.
Okay.
And the judge does not even have a recording. He writes everything with his own. So it's a tiring process. So, but rest assured, your father's property, you are getting it. There is no, except your father in his will gave it to somebody else.
Okay, so in the interim, before they get to your case file, what should you do? What do you advise now personally?
No, once it's in court, everybody must stand down. Once the families, if a matter is in court, and then you now still go to do your own natural justice, you now go and, it's in contempt of court. You could be arrested, you could be locked up for that. Even the police must stand down. Every law enforcement agency must stand down once a matter is in court.
Okay. Thank you so much. I hope this information helps somebody, and I am being this detailed on it because of the last caller I had last week who talked about how she has gone to court, and even her lawyer, the person who was supposed to be on her side, has been bought over by the family or the husband's people, and now they have chased her out. So you're right now, you have this information, you know what to do with it. So please pursue it if you're listening. And if there is somebody out there who needs this information, please, you know what to do. You have the total right to your husband or your family's property. So please do the needful, and if need be, sprinkle a little bit of, I don't want to say madness, but strong will. Just hold on and do what you need to do. And that's all we can take for today on Soul Sisters. Thank you so much for being my guest as usual. Thank you for the information that has poured out.
Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
You can check out Barrister Olumide on Instagram. It is GNONIS underscore help.
Gnosis underscore help.
Yes.
GNOSIS underscore help.
That's what you're looking for. And you can reach out to them if you have any case, especially of gender-based violence. They are all about informing, educating, giving you the knowledge, and also helping in ways that they can. Nurses Help Initiative is the organization. Next, you will listen to the news, and afterwards I'll be back to play you more soul songs. Remember that this video is on YouTube, so you can go there, watch it, and share it with somebody. This is Smooth 98.1.
1 hour has just gone like that.
Just like that, time flies by.
You were able to do well. I was afraid.
Yeah.
Be caught up
In adverts?
Thank you. So,
okay, you have some comments there.
Let me see. Wow, this your family experience is really interesting and an eye-opener. Yes, my family. Let's just leave it.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be part of this discourse. Thank you. Mr. Bells. How are you, Martin Martinez? This is getting more interesting and deep. Thank you. Thank you, everyone that joined. Wow, I didn't know there were so many
Quite a
people.
lot, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Do business at
Really?
internet speed of up
Yeah.
to 200
Thank you very
megabytes
much,
per second
everyone.
with an
God
Airtel
bless.
Smart
And
Box
from
app targeted
Sharon.
for SME. And
Thank you
enjoy
so much for
instant
joining.
access to other amazing offers.
So
Dial
see
1010
on
toll
Saturday.
free
No,
or send
on
an email
Thursday,
to
tomorrow.
Airtel
Okay,
Business
you usually do your wife.
Airtel.com.
I say your wife,
To get
your
started.
line.
Airtel.
Yes, just before you say I do.
Okay. Do you do the one on mainland FM, or it was just an appearance?
They call.
Okay.
So,
Okay, this one.